Village Planning Commission. I ask everyone to please rise as able for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Mackenzie, could we have roll call, please, when you're ready?
Commissioner Hoff. Here. Commissioner Belt.
Here.
Commissioner Jelassic.
Here.
Commissioner Liebert.
Here.
Trustee Rhodey.
Here.
And President Knudsen.
Here. Okay, number 2 today is the citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with commission members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the commission is not able to answer questions or to respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address. Is there anybody on this side of the room that would like to make a comment at this time? Yes, sir. Go right up here. You got to come up here, yes.
Hi, my name is Danny Deppie, and the parking lot right in front of the elementary school.
Name, address, please.
Danny Deppie, 326 Lake Street.
Thank you, sir.
You betcha. Our house is right across the street from the part that they want to develop. And when they first came and told us what their plans were, they told us that they would make that into a conservancy, and they'd have classes over there, and take the art kids out there, do paintings and whatever, and use it as an educational area. And we live right across the street from that. Thought, well, that would be very nice. And now we find out that they want to raise that, like they dug a great big hole next to it, and they put a few cars in there. Well, now they're going to put a few more cars in there, and you're going to ruin the landscape of what's left of that area. And so we find that to be a waste of that area, where it would be better for the kids to get a feeling of nature than just another outdoor classroom, and we feel that we have been sold a bill of goods, and we don't want that there, because we're going to have headlights blaring in our faces all the time, and now and we have tons of cars going up and down that hill because there's only 2 exits in the entire building. And so you're turning it into a city. It's not a village anymore, and you're just destroying the whole fabric of the area up there. And so we would like that it would turn back to what the people who were selling this to us, and we agreed that it would be a good spot for kids to be in the outdoors and learn, into just another parking lot. We'll probably have 6, 8, 10 cars, and the parking lot that's there now isn't full. There's a little one there, and so it's just going to be more asphalt. And Pewaukee doesn't need any more asphalt up there. You have 2 giant areas where the kids have a big playground, next to the elementary school, behind the elementary school, and most of it isn't being used. It's a huge area. Why not take a chunk of that? And then take what's going next to the school, which is, where all the dump trucks go, and just, bring that over to, I believe that's High Street over there, and make that go through, and use some of that land back there. So I suppose I'm getting to the end of my story. But anyhow, that's kind of the way we feel. We feel that we were sold a bill of goods, and just a couple years later, they've changed their story, and it's like, well, thanks. We're going to put another parking lot up there with another 5 cars and a whole bunch of more asphalt up there, and it's not needed. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Deputy 326 Lake Street. I am here to register my opposition to the rezoning of the property at 381 Lake.
Oh, yes, sir, in the back.
Joseph Herbst, 317 Lake Street. Live directly next door, so I got a few notes. I'm not even going to go over what Mr. Deputy just talked about. So, respectfully, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try and keep this short as I can. It's upsetting to be here tonight, okay? So I want you to know that. So, been living there for 38 years, okay? When my wife and I bought that home, it was a residential neighborhood and residential neighbors. Approximately 20 years ago, 22 years ago, the school district purchased the house with a perfect, admin building, and they had great green space. They occupy a lot of square feet across the street. They had it all right there. They did never think ahead that they were purchasing a residential property. It wasn't zoned school district. They should have known they were buying residential property. They've done this in the past. If you've been here long enough, they purchased property out on Ryan Road. People didn't like the idea. The end of it was the sale of that property. So it goes back to we the people. The people that purchased the property, Joanne Sternad, Martin Van Hooley, that era, they're long gone. But the deputies, the Abbott, the Herbsts, we're still there. We're still part of the neighborhood. All right, it was the will of the people 10 years ago, and it still stands that way today. The neighbors are behind me, and they all agree. I don't even want to get into discussing about this property. It's been discussed 10 years ago. And some of you village people sitting right here were on that board then. And they agreed with the people that they, this should never leave this room tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it should table this. This has been discussed. They own a residential property. Let them sell it. I'll buy it. I'll build a house next door, but I don't want a parking lot, and I'm not even going to discuss that because it's not up for discussion. You people voted on this once already. How many times can they come back after us? We're good neighbors. School district served me and my children well, my wife. But the fact remains the same. I own a property next door to a residentially zoned property. And so I'll finish up with this, because I know a little bit about, I've done a little research. So this falls under what is defined as spot zoning. And I'll end with this, but I'm going to read it to you, and I'm sure some of you should know what this is. The arbitrary application or removal of zoning restrictions from a specific parcel or parcels of land. Spot zoning is an application of zoning in specific parcels of land within a larger zone area. That's us, residential. Okay? When the rezoning usually is at odds with the city's master plan, which in this case it's not the village, it's the school district's master plan, to the current zoning restriction. So, table it tonight. I don't want to be here in another month discussing this, because then we're really going to have a lot of evidence against the school district. Thank you for listening.
Is there anybody else on that side of the room? Yes, ma'am.
Mary Mullen, 316 Lake Street. And we've been very tolerant of all the cars up and down my side of the street and how difficult it can be getting out of the driveway. And so I just want to stop right there as far as how much I can stand and say no to the parking lot. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Heineman, 224 Lake Street. So maybe this is putting a bit of the cart before the horse, but just in terms of a parking lot, for all of us who live there, we get a front row seat to it. And we keep adding parking spaces at the school and not looking at solving the underlying problem. Bus safety is a concern for many parents. The pedestrian and bike safety is an issue. I'm not a civil engineer, I'm not an urban planner, I don't have the solutions per se. I have ideas, but they're not necessarily ones that would solve it. But we need to look at the bigger picture instead of keep adding like 5 more spaces, 10 more spaces, and then we keep saying that it's growing when I don't know that the student population is growing so much. I will say we don't see a lot of carpooling, see almost no carpooling. I don't see a lot of kids walking to school or biking to school. And on Lake Street, we have sidewalks on both sides, but we don't have crossing guards at Lake and Lookout, for instance, and it's not particularly safe. I used to walk my kids go across there. We have last year, 2 years ago, she graduated, but we had a kid 3 houses away from the school who drove her car to school. So, you know, people will find other ways if there aren't enough parking spaces. I am a family member of someone who works for the school, and when there was Veterans Day recently, they asked the employees to park at the school or the library parking lot to leave room for the veterans. My family member parked in our driveway. I saw one school employee walk up, and I walked my family member up, and they said, oh, there's the superintendent's car, there's the principal's car. All the admin were up at the school district. So we need that to kind of come down. That's not your issue, but I'm putting it on the table right now. So, yeah, as you can see, pretty significant opposition to this from the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else anybody else over there? Is there anybody on this side of the room that would like to make a comment at this time? Sure, come on up.
Bob Kirsten at 213 Lake Street. And I was looking at Google Maps just to see the layout of the school and all the roads and green space. And there's a lot of spots where there's green space near parking lots, near roadways, where you could get more parking without having to put it right next to someone's house. At the water tower area, there's a parking lot there, but there's a lot more expansion available there. And if they did have to do anything to that space, if they just worked a little bit on the edge of School Street, it wouldn't be as bad as if they took the whole thing. And there's that whole area south of that parking lot, next to this lot they're talking about, that goes for almost the length of the administration building. And I'm sure that could be used for parking in there. And if you look at Google Maps, you'll see all these areas where they're not big, but you can find parking. And it's better to put parking closer to the buildings, away from homes, keep the green space near the residential. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anybody left that would like to make a comment that has not? Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, good evening, I'm Michael Glenn, 128 Lookout Drive, and our backyard connects to the green space. The district is continuing to grow, and that's a wonderful problem, because this is a wonderful place to be. Proposing, again, to redevelop the beautiful green space that separates our neighborhood from the hustle and bustle of the district complex is not one that our family is going to support, and you can see all of our neighbors obviously do not support it as well. I, like the rest of our neighbors, confidently believe that this initiative will not solve our parking problems at the district. I want to make clear that I love our village, I love our school district, and all the incredible teachers and administrators that make it so special. So let's keep the green space special as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the room that has a comment about anything? Is it about the same topic?
I don't know if I used my 3 minutes, but I would just like to reiterate to the crowd here that this is not about the master plan of the school district. This is about one issue. It's the zoning of that property, which is zoned residential.
Okay, thank you, sir. If there are no more comments, I am going to move on. Approval of the regular planning commission meeting November 13th, 2025. I hope everyone's had a minute to go over them. Are there any comments, questions, corrections as the way they are presented this evening? And if there are none, I will look for a motion to approve as presented.
Vlasic moves to approve as presented, the November 13th Plan Commission meeting minutes.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. And I forgot to thank everybody for their comments. It was all appreciated. Thank you. Old business, we have none. New business. Review, discussion, and possible recommendation on a comprehensive plan, land use amendment request of Pewaukee School District to amend the existing land use designation from single-family residential to institutional. This request is located north of the intersection of Lake Street and School Street, PWV 0899235002. This 0.598 acre parcel is split zoned R5 single-family residential and IPS institutional and public service district. The property owner and applicant is the Pewaukee School District. Would you like to take this?
Sure, a little bit for you. So first of 2 items as it relates to property on this evening's agenda. First up, we have a request for a comprehensive plan master land use amendment. The village adopted its future land use map in 2021. Subject parcel that we're discussing tonight is split, designated within future land use map, with the southern portion where the existing parking lot lies under the institutional designation in the future plan, and single-family residential on the northern portion. Applicant is requesting for consideration of changing the entirety of the future land use map to the institutional district. It's roughly, as you mentioned, 0.6 acre parcel. We have the map with this evening. So this blue line kind of right here is the institutional versus the single-family residential subject parcel with 5 designations. As we know, the village is entertaining an idea of a parking lot there in the future. These agenda items tonight are not specific to the parking lot. If these would be successful and they would move forward with a parking lot there, they would have to come back to the actual we're really just looking at what is the correct future land use designation for this parcel, and ultimately what is the correct zoning. Any development would have to come back for approval before that. Typically, when we look at things from a planning and zoning standpoint, we do try to avoid the designation process. Ultimate development of that property is something else to consider. But when we purely look at the future land use map, we try to avoid these when possible. That's something for the planning commission to consider. Ultimately, this takes village board approval. If they do want to amend their future land use map with any comprehensive plan, that's what's up for consideration tonight. Is the first element of this review would have to go on to, like I said, the village board or full public hearing, and then ultimately their consideration. Right now, that public hearing is slated for January 20th.
Any questions from the commission? Yes, go ahead.
So with the amendment then to the comprehensive plan land use, so if we were to approve this, and ultimate final decisions to the village board, is that correct from your?
That is correct. Ultimately, it is the village board that would make the final determination on amending the future land use map.
And so then, say that all happens and they approve it, and the school district comes back and they want to put in a parking lot, hypothetically, would that require then a conditional use, or is that, would that have to then come before the planning commission again?
It would definitely have to
Right.
come to the plan commission. Let me double check on, is it just a site plan of operation or a conditional use?
And I'm just wondering too, because I think, I did a little, raised everyone's energy bill, I just used AI. I think it's Act 67 that limits, I think, planning commission's abilities to say no to things for conditional use. I don't know if the attorney, is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
So the legislature and the governor in their infinite wisdom at that time felt they could take away local control. So I just wanted to put that out there that if this board and I guess the village, I'm not an elected official, I'm appointed, so I know we have 2 trustees on this board. If this is something that we don't want to do, that this is probably the time to stop it, because I don't know if we would be able to stop. Then if the school district were to come back and want to make this proposal legally, unless we can somehow prove that there's like air pollution, noise pollution, different things that would be a negative effect to the surrounding properties, I don't think we could legally say no to that potential development. So those are my initial thoughts and questions.
It does not appear to be a conditional use, so it would likely be
A site plan?
just site plan approval, which could be conditioned with any conditions you still feel are appropriate.
Okay.
So if it came forward and you decided fencing, landscaping, buffering, any of those type of things would still be within your purview, regardless of site plan approval versus conditional use approval. You still have that ultimate authority if you chose to approve something, to condition it appropriately on what you feel is relevant for that project.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Anyone else have a question or a comment? Yes, go ahead.
So if it's not advised to divide a property into 2 uses, like it is existing right now, it obviously was done back in
21.
21? And it was done for the reason that they didn't want to get as close to the residents? I mean, is that why it was done, or do we know?
It appears that it followed the previous line from the prior mapping.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't here, I don't know if if they specifically looked at this area when doing that mapping, or if they followed the consistency with the prior update.
Anyone else? Bob?
Yeah, no questions. I guess I just have comments. I'm sympathetic to the people that live in that area. And if I lived in that area, I would feel the same way. I do think it is more of a fight that should be taken to the village board versus what's being approached or considered right now. Because I, quite honestly, if it came in front of the village board, I'm not sure which way I would go right now.
So I have one other question.
Sure.
So if it if the whole property becomes institutional, what is the buffer we have between residential and institutional? Is it like 50 feet or, I don't know.
I mean,
How
look at the
close can they be?
setbacks for institutional. That would be a side yard offset. $50-foot front, 20-foot side. So it'd be a 20-foot, like from the north line, it would be a 20-foot offset.
Can you scroll down on your PowerPoint so we can see the other map?
You want to see the aerial or
The next page, I think it's the next page, or a couple pages down. Yep, the aerial from top, we've got purple to yellow. I personally like the,
The way mark. Oh, sorry.
let's see,
My mouse.
there you go. Yep, that one. So I personally like the nice clean line that we see right behind the school, behind the admin, behind Pewaukee Lake, straight across. I like that layout.
Which is how it is right now.
Exactly how it is right now. Is the school district here this evening to represent what and share with us anything that we would have questions about? Now appropriate time for that or no?
Yes.
Someone from the school district here. You state your name and address, sir.
I'm John Gahan, Assistant Superintendent with Milwaukee School District, Chief Financial Officer.
There are specific questions that a commissioner has.
What is the purpose of this small space versus the larger spaces that are down from the soccer fields that have no use and have not had any use the multiple years I've lived here?
You're talking off of Pirate Pass below the soccer field?
Yes.
That's a practice field down there that was developed in 2007 as a green space practice field to serve the soccer stadium, along with, it was part of the acquisition of the Collins Farm, which the village then annexed the whole Collins Farm, which was a city property, into the village at that time.
Don't see much use on that at all when I drive by, or the years that my son attended from 4K to graduation a year ago. So what is the purpose of this small space be parking in the neighborhood's neighbor's backyard versus other spaces within, as the community members have shared? What is the purpose of this small space? What is the expectation of how many parking spots that would be in the future versus elsewhere on the property?
So in the, when you ask of what has changed, that is pushing the need for this area here. Over the last couple of years, we've had programming that has modified to meet the needs of the student population that's coming in. We've added additional wraparound care for four-year-old kindergarten, because the wait list for the community was long each year. So we added a second section to that. That has significantly increased the amount of traffic in the morning and in the pickup times that comes around the back of the admin building, where there's a lot of staff parking on top of that already. We talk about the water tower lot up there. That lot also has much of our staff into that lot that are utilizing on a daily basis. This puts parking in closer proximity to the secure entrances
for that 4K programming, that wraparound programming, and reduces the amount of traffic that's coming in and out of that parking lot, creating some safety concerns.
And what would the thought or expectation be on that property following all the proper guidelines for parking spaces? How many parking spaces do you presume to get for that space?
We have not designed at this point. We've used the same firm that was in 2014 that did the engineering study with all of with the site survey in that, so we could reduce cost on any new proposal that's coming forward. But we have not met to develop new proposals on that yet, of what that would look like. Some of the suggestions that have come here, I think frankly are good suggestions. Looking along School Street to the northwest, along the curb line there, potentially, for some of it, or going to the south from the existing towards that crosswalk there. Both good suggestions when people are coming in there. We have not got to that design element of going into that.
So we
talked to two of the neighbors in direct proximity of that. We've already made the commitment to have conversations about what is feasible, what does that look like, what are alternatives.
So I've been here already for the new parking lot redesign between Horizon and Asa Clark. We've also recently been through the behind the high school and the additional parking and the layout back there. In my personal experience, the parking lot in front of PLE, Horizon, and Asa is not always full. Not always full on any given school day. So my thought or expectation as a previous manager supervisor is that leadership would be parking in those spaces and allowing for the current parking space that's there for this 4K program that we have. And of course, we did hear from someone in the neighborhood that they're seeing leaders not parking where they need to be parking. This is obviously a passionate issue. It involves everyone's personal space. The school has completely exceeded its space and its limits on multiple occasions over all the years. I think these neighbors, in my personal opinion, I think these neighbors put up with a lot already. And I'd like to see the school do some more carpooling, something with the children, something with the teachers to emphasize that. You know, some days you can't even come through that area safely between the library and up Lake Street to turn. I get my roads wrong, but you can't turn up that street because you can't actually see past any of the vehicles. So before we took over more space, I personally would like to see other alternatives, encouragement, eco-friendly, encouraging the kids, and I don't need it to go to the village board. I'm not in favor of it.
So just to be clear, it will go to the village board. It just goes with a recommendation from this commission.
It's going to the board either way.
Correct.
Correct.
No, I understand that, but Bob had stated that he didn't think that we needed to even discuss it, that it should go straight to the board. I have an opinion on it.
I didn't mean it to sound like that.
Okay,
I did.
that's
Yeah,
how I
yeah,
took it.
No, that was not, no.
Okay, my apologies. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So again, we're really here to try to fix a problem in a lot that we have that is not normal, really nothing to do with the future. So my question is, if it remained residential, is it a buildable lot?
What is right now not a lot, the residential portion itself is not a lot. It is
Okay.
part of the lot where the parking lot already exists. So it would have to be subdivided off to be a standalone buildable parcel.
And is there enough space that it could be?
What's the minimum square
I mean,
footage?
with the offsets and stuff, I mean, otherwise we're making a piece of property that's
R5,
not
I would say likely.
developable.
I would say likely, you know, it would be, when you've got the double frontage lots, it eats up a lot in setbacks. So you might have a small remaining buildable area under the current code, but it is likely you could find a way to achieve it.
Okay.
Anyone else like to make a comment? Well, my comment is that I was on the board back in 21. I'm here. And familiar faces came at the meeting and more. And I believe the school district at that time, when they purchased the property, and John, I can't remember exactly, or we have a new person there. But I believe when they purchased the property, it was gonna be a buffer zone between the parking lot and the residential, because there were a lot of complaints concerning about possibility of headlights and other interference. Again, I'm just going by what I remember somewhat of it, but I do remember that the planning commission at that time did not recommend doing anything with this property and leaving it the way it is. So I am tossed. I agree, you know, I know the school district needs more parking. I'm not up there all the time. I don't see what's happening, okay? I know you guys are getting hammered, especially the people on Lookout. There's a lot of students parking on the streets and stuff like that. I understand that. So it's a matter of either they don't want to pay for parking up on top, which they have to do, or there's just not enough parking. It's one or the other. So I'm just kind of up in the air right now as far as how I feel on this. Yes, Bob.
I guess one more comment, in thinking about this, it seems like we're being asked to start a process or approve a process, the start of a process, without knowing what the end game is going to be.
Mhm.
And because of that, I really have a tough time approving it tonight.
So this would go to, so I guess I will look for, is there any more discussion?
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, go ahead.
All right, I'd move to recommend to the village board the denial of the comprehensive plan land use amendment request submitted by the Pewaukee School District to amend the existing land use designation from single-family residential to institutional for the .598 acre parcel located north of the intersection of Lake Street and School Street, tax key number PWV 0899235002.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Do I need to go to B then?
You should still take action on B. There still needs to be a recommendation.
Okay.
The planner will go.
Okay, review, discussion, and possible recommendation on a zone change. Request the Pewaukee School District to rezone from the existing split zoning R5 single-family residential and IPS institutional and public service district to IPS institutional and public service district. This request is located north of the intersection of Lake Street and School Street, PWV 0899235002. This .598 acre parcel is split zoned R5 single family residential and IPS institutional and public service district. The property owner and applicant is the Pewaukee School District. Sir, would you like to?
I mean, this kind of would be the second step in that overall process of transitioning it from institutional and residential zoning to fully that institutional zoning. You need the comp plan and you need the zone. You need to both go forward. In order for that process to be complete, this would just be that second step, subject to the first step being completed as well.
So really, in other words, the rezone of the property should not be approved unless the companion amendments to the comp plan is first been. Would that be fair to say?
Correct, yeah, zoning needs to be consistent with your master land use plan. So if the master land use plan would not be amended, it would not be appropriate to do the zone change.
So we need a motion to not approve the zoning.
It's also a recommendation to the village board, so A motion would be very similar to the one made on the previous agenda.
Oh, I make a motion?
Yes, go right ahead, sir.
I'll move to recommend to the village board the denial of the zone change request submitted by the Pewaukee School District to rezone the .598 acre parcel located north of the intersection of Lake Street and School Street, tax number PWV 0899235002, from its existing split zoning of R5 single-family residential and IPS institutional and public service district to exclusively IPS institutional and public service district.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
So then for a point of order, that public hearing though will still happen in January?
January 20th.
January 20th?
I believe that is the correct date.
Clear your calendars.
Okay. So watch for it on January 20th. That's the
Village
board
board is at
meeting,
6
right?
p.m.
6 o'clock here. Okay, item C, review, discussion, and possible action on certified survey map proposed to consolidate and reconfigure the existing two contiguous lots of 497 Park Avenue into one lot. The applicant property owners MCE LLC, the property is currently zoned IPS institutional and public service district and R5 residential detached district with a lakefront overlay. Hope it was written correctly.
Yeah, so we essentially have two parcels. The home currently crosses that. It's R5 LO lakefront overlay zoning. Applicant just wants to combine them into a single parcel. Pretty simple CSM process to do those. We do have another number of comments from the survey team reviewing it. We do have one additional to add. It would be item F, which would be to remove the village board signature line. A CSM of this nature does not need village board approval. It can be done simply by plan commission. So just under our planner comments under the CSM, like I said, we do have one additional one. Thank you to Attorney Gerlinsky for noting that we missed that on our review. But really, it's just them trying to combine their two lots into a single parcel.
You have a comment?
I just have a clarifying question, actually.
Okay.
Just looking at the agenda, is this property zoned IPS institutional?
No.
Okay.
It is just R5 LRO. I must have made that mistake on the agenda.
And that's fine. It's not germane to the action item. I just wanted to clarify for the record.
So they're both R5.
Yep, they're both just R5 lakefront overlay.
Okay. And that has no impact on the action the board can take this evening. I just wanted to clarify that. Curious.
Okay, this is. All right, are there any questions or comments as to what's going on?
So I think the other part had me really thrown off. I just have to put it back into my head. So it's need to get the word institutional and public district out, that it's 2-5. So it's R5, 2 R5 lakefront properties that want to be joined together.
Correct.
Is it, so when I was driving around looking at this, and I don't know if this has any bearing on this, but I'm just asking, isn't this the home or the address where we went through the, what are those called?
The rental.
VBROs or rental, is that this property?
Yeah, it's separate properties, so there's two addresses, or it's a half address, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. It's 497 and 497 and a half.
It really, I don't even want the commission to get into that issue. That has nothing to do with approval of a certified survey map.
I was just
It
trying
is
to
a
put
trust.
2 and 2
Yes,
together,
fine.
and if there was any, and so thank you for clarifying, I appreciate that.
I'm just trying to figure out how they got a property line through the middle of the house.
That's what, that's the other, that was the other question.
Someone screwed up a long time ago.
At least it's not in the city, in the village. So are there any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion then?
I mean, I'll go 3-0 if you want me to.
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Make a motion to approve for the Pewaukee Planning Commission to approve the certified survey map requests for a lot combination for the property located at 497 Park Avenue, subject to all of the conditions listed in the staff report, and the addition of
F, removal of the village board signature line.
what he said.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. You have a single-family home now. 6 is citizen comments again. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with commission members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the commission is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium, and please state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment at this time? Yes, ma'am.
326 Lake Street. I just want to thank the village president and all of the board members for their knowledgeable and thoughtful comments and clarifications so that we could learn more here tonight. And I just appreciate the thoughtful demeanor and consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like? Yes, sir.
Again, Joseph Herbst, 317 Lake Street. I'd also like to thank you, but I'm not sure what really happened here legally, why this is moving on. Like I said, it was decided 10 years ago. Can they just keep coming back after the residents? I don't know what the legalities of this is, but I'm disappointed that it's even going to go to the next meeting. The students occupy the whole neighborhood. I'm retired now. I can't even have a visitor at my house. You can only park on one side of the street. The construction crew shows up at 5 a.m. with their slamming doors every day, okay? Every day, the school's got them lined up like cordwood. Over here, I agree with her. You know, the whole neighborhood can't be a parking lot. Okay, and we talked about this, and I made a public comment. So I've taken pictures lately. There's spots that are empty in that visitor lot every day. I walk my dog up by the cemetery. My family is buried in that cemetery. They got approval to put a parking lot up there. It's so full now they park on the grass. But I made a public comment at that time to the school district.
Keep it coming this way.
Yeah, address the commission,
School
sir.
district that you got your parking lot up here. I don't want to hear about this in my backyard again, and here we are again today. You know, and they already got the permit to build up there by the water tower. Yeah. I'm just disappointed in the school district. We do put up with a lot, but, you know, if we're gonna talk about a master plan, well, then we better start talking about closing down Lake Street and a whole new traffic pattern. Because there is a big problem besides this little parking lot. I mean, have any of you been up there at 2:30 in the afternoon when they're lined all the way down School Street to the cemetery? And you can't get an emergency vehicle up there if you try. I've had the police department call me because I've had to just blow through there. I can't even come home in the afternoon. So, again, the school district served my family very well. It's all about a plan. And if we're gonna talk about a master plan, let's not take away a residential lot next door to me and put exhaust pipes up my kitchen window. The master plan should be closing down Lake Street. That should be a cul-de-sac, and then look at the land they're gonna have to build on. just thank you for listening, but I just can't believe that this is gonna go past this room tonight. It was already decided 10 years ago, we voted on it.
Excuse me if I could interject that we are over the 3-minute limit.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, and, sorry that we're gonna have to see you again.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Okay, we're gonna look for number 7, which is the adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second. I just want to keep it.
We have seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone, tonight. Would you like to
Keep it
take
simple.
one or two?
No, I'm good, thank you.